Okay, everyone, we are back, the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. I have pulled out the polishes that I typically use on metal parts for a sewing machine. This is for the non-painted parts. Now I have two. I have Barkeeper's Friend, which is more of a liquid. It's called a soft cleanser, but it actually is, I think of it, it's so finely, it's made with a very fine grit. I consider it a polish. And then of course the other one is the Mother's Mag and Aluminum Polish, which I got in a car part store. And it's more of a paste. And what I'm going to do today is, remember I've got that little area, that one spot, that I have some oxidation and I want that gone. It's not bad, but I want it out of there because I want that bobbin to move freely. And because, as I mentioned in the prior video, because this is a bobbin case, and it actually has moving parts and lots of little crevices and hiding places, I don't want to get wax or polish in those moving parts. And so, because the Barkeeper's Friend brand, because this is more of a liquid, I'm actually going to try some of the Mother's paste. I don't need much because I'm only dealing with a very small spot here. So I'm gonna do a, see if I can do a, there we go, a closer focus for you guys. You can see what's happening. So what I'm doing is I'm going to just put a little bit of the paste right there, not even using all of it that I had on the cotton swab, okay? And then I'm going to just take it and I'm going to spread it over that area. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of let it maybe try putting yet another little, just a little smidge in there. And you can see I don't want to get the polish in this other part of the bobbin case. Okay, so now you can see I've just smeared just a small amount. I don't need much. And I'm going to let it sit there for a minute because, again, polishes have small amounts of solvents in them, and though that solvent is what helps break things up a bit. And you can also see some staining on, where's my crochet hook where I can point? Can't even get my finger in there. Right in here, there's a little staining, and that's okay. The staining does not really interfere with anything, but it's the oxidation I found in that spot. Don't know why I have it in that one spot, have no clue. But I want that polish on that spot only. I don't want to get it down into the spring. That's not something good. So anyway, again, thank you to the viewer who suggested polish. Like I say, I'm revising my opinion. I typically never use polish and still don't on anything that's very hard to get wax or polish out of once it goes in there. But in this area, it's okay. And it will actually help me, hopefully, dissolve. Let's see what it does. Let's see. Again, I'm not going to spread it anywhere. And looks like it did rather well, actually. Look at that. See, I was using a cotton swab with alcohol, but now I'm getting a lot more of that oxidation off of there. That's very, very helpful. So, did I get it all? No. So I'm going to go back. I'm simply going to go back again with more polish. It is not an exaggeration to say that I go through a lot of cotton swabs, but it's okay. I'm glad it's a tool you can find anywhere. You don't have to order it online. Okay, so let's make sure if I can keep this in front of the camera and pay attention to what I'm doing. Again, I'm going to go over and do another layer. Let it sit just a little bit and let it do its thing. Again, the Barkeepers will do it, but I don't want anything running down and getting into the spring. So again, that's why you have different products. There are times when the Barkeeper's Friend is, in some ways, it's even faster, but I'll use it on things like, side plates and rear plates that are often on the older singers, for example, that have nickel-plated metal. It's wonderful for that. And so as you can see, I'm slowly but surely there's more of it coming off on the cotton swab. Slowly but surely getting more of the oxidation off of here. And going back yet with another little film of this polish. And I can even just rub the polish in, and you'll see, again, it's pulling more and more of the oxidation off of there. And again, I'm being careful. Notice I don't want to go past here or here. I am not interested in taking this polish anywhere other than where I'm just focusing on, because it has this little area of oxidation. Why it's here, like I say, it could just be where the machine had stopped, and we don't know. It could have been, like I said, I'm trying to remember where I got this now. I got it from someone who got it from someone else, and who knows, like I say, somebody could have said, hey, you want this old machine? Oh, sure, I don't know what I'll do with it. And then they ended up selling it. But again, sometimes I know the history of the machine because I get it from the original owner, which is really cool. Or the owner's, or the estate of the owner. But in this case, I really don't know a lot about the history of the machine. Now, you'll notice that I've gotten quite a lot of that oxidation off. And what's left is a little bit of this sort of dark staining, but I still have some I'm going to try to pull off there. I have one more option. Because of where this is, I can try to get a tiny piece of emery cloth, or very, very fine, like 800 grit wet dry sandpaper. That's not going to be, it's not the easiest spot to put that in. So I'd much rather do this with the polish, but I am making progress. So I'll try a little bit more polish here and see if we can. This is an original bobbin case. You can get replacements, but this one's not broken. And I'm grateful that we can get replacements for these, but I really prefer the original equipment if possible. If you can't get an original part and you need to get a reproduction, hey, I'm grateful that I can get reproductions, because sometimes that's all there is, and that will get a machine running. But make sure we don't get polish down in there. But if you can use original parts, typically the quality is higher. I know it sounds a little funny. People laugh sometimes when I say this. I said, no, even the screws were made better back then, and I'm not kidding. Everything was made with a different philosophy in those days, and they charged for it. It wasn't cheap. These machines were expensive, and if you ever have anyone in your family, maybe you have a grandparent or great-grandparent, ask them. They will often tell you they remember how much some of these things they bought. Not just sewing machines, but other things that they purchased that were just crazy expensive. All right, let's take another try at this. See if what we can pull off here. Look at that, guys. Look at what the polish is pulling off. I'm getting things I couldn't get with alcohol alone, and certainly not just sewing machine oil. Okay, we've made things a lot better, but it's still not smooth. So now it's going to be time to take a look at possibly using a wet dry sandpaper and see if I can I'll even do one more little pass, because sometimes you might say, well, how do I know how many times to try the polish? I keep getting stuff coming off on the swab, and that tells me it's still working. So if the swab just mostly stays white, you can't really see much coming off anymore, that might be a sign that it's time to move on to, plan B or the next step, whatever that is. But I'm impressed. Like I said, I've used the polish for a number of things in sewing machine restoration, along with using it on things, like the car, which is what it was originally created for. But the sewing machine doesn't care whether it's, what the original purpose of the polish was, as long as it's useful and it works and it doesn't cause any harm. And you can see me, I'm still getting stuff coming up off the swab. That's a good sign. That means we're gradually making progress. And I know you might, oh, this is so tedious. Not really. It's kind of a cloudy, kind of cold day outside. Why not? Really, it's really showing a lot of progress here. And I'm noticing it's not as rough when I take the cotton swab around. It's smoother now because more of that oxidation has come out. And again, once we've done this, we don't have to keep doing this. And I will show you how when I'm finally done cleaning this up, why I use my approach with sewing machine oil and create a nice thin film of oil around it, not drowned in oil, because then we're going to wipe most of the oil off. We're going to buff it so that it's only a very fine layer. You don't want lots of oil in this device. There is a way to, of course, oil your bobbin case, and I've shown that before, but you always want to be very conservative with oil when you're dealing with your shuttle and your bobbin case area, because you can end up with a mess when you're trying to sew, and you'll get oil on your cloth or your finished product. It's not something you want to overdo. Okay, now I mentioned to you that I have another method. Now, this is actually, I had mentioned 500. This is 1500. What does it say? Let's change our, there we go. It's 1500 grit, okay? It's a wet dry sandpaper. This is paper that's often used for preparing cars to be painted. This is not the 120, 180 grit, that really rough stuff that you might use when you're painting in your house. You definitely don't want anything that coarse, because that's going to gouge scratches in these really small sewing machine parts, and you don't want that. So I am going to, this is the pair of scissors I use when I'm not worrying about them becoming too dull. And I'm just going to cut just a little strip of this. It's really all I need. And I'm going to take it and just kind of make myself a little makeshift piece here. And I want it to be small enough so that it will turn, right? Because I'm dealing with, I'm dealing with a bobbin case here, and I'm trying to get it in here. Let's see if I can kind of make a rounded edge here and see what it will do. I'm not worried that this is going to cause any kind of gouging or scratches, right? So I've got you can see I've got the sandpaper in there, guys. I think what I may want is maybe even to take like a screwdriver to sort of help hold this thing. This is kind of figuring it out as you go type of thing, but notice I'm just turning. I'm holding the sandpaper that I folded against the side of the inside of the bobbin case that I want to remove more oxidation, and then the screwdriver, I'm just pushing it against it because my fingers are too wide to get down in there. So I'm using the screwdriver as kind of an extension of my fingers, if you will. Now, look what just came off. Look at that. Okay? Now, if you go looking for sandpaper, you may or may not find 1500 grit in a home center. If you don't, try a traditional hardware store, because that's where I got this. Okay, so now that this side is all got some oxidation on it, let's turn it over. We'll go on the clean side and we will do it again. And again, same technique. I put that folded sandpaper there because I don't have a really big area to clean here. Using the screwdriver as an extension of my finger, and then I'm gonna make sure that I hold the sandpaper, and then as I twist with the bobbin case, again, I'm not hurting anything, not hitting any springs, not disrupting any of the mechanical parts. I'm just on the inner side. Think of it as like a drum, and I'm on the inside of that drum, and look at that, I pulled even more off. So I'll just take the same piece and then just turn it up inside out so I don't waste it. And again, using the screwdriver as an extension of my fingers, holding the paper against the screwdriver, and then take the sand, this 1500 grit, and just back and forth like this as I'm basically removing more of, and there we go. I've removed a whole bunch of oxidation. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to take some alcohol on a cotton swab, and I'm going to see, let's remove what has been coming off, and then we can see where we are. What's left to do. Now, if you look at it, you might think, well, gosh, gee whiz, there's still some in there. There is, but it is much smoother, okay? So we've removed quite a bit. And before I go back with more of that 1500 grit, I'm going to switch gears and now go back to my polish. Sometimes removing oxidation from a piece of steel is not one technique, it's actually several. And sometimes you go back and forth till you figure out which one is working. So we've already removed some heavier stuff. Now let's let the polish do its thing. And I think we're almost done with this. This way we know that when our bobbin goes back in, and when I get the machine set up at the end, when I'm getting ready to do its, what do I call these? Debuts. This is when it's ready for its debut, I will put new thread on there, because that thread, old thread, it actually dry rots and it becomes weak and can cause problems for your machine. So you don't want to ever be penny wise, pound foolish. Some of the best quality thread in the world is not expensive, Just get good thread so you don't have that as a source of any problems. Okay, now look at all this extra I was able to get off the cotton swab, in part because we've already removed some. Now I'll come back in with some more polish and just kind of buffing up and down, trying to get more of it out. Wow, it's amazing what you can pull out when you focus in on it. I'm going to make one more pass with the polish, and then we'll see how it looks. And hopefully, if for some reason watching me do this is boring, think of it as a good cure for insomnia. You could just play this, and chances are you'll be asleep in the first few minutes. Look at that, guys. Look at all that's still coming off of there. So again, the sandpaper it's 1500 grit, it did not gouge or scratch the metal, but it really helped remove, it really just accelerated what I've been trying to do with the polish, and probably saved me some time. Although I know this may look time consuming to a lot of you guys. Again, I'm doing this and taking this time because I want to emphasize to you just how important your bobbin case is. Bobbin cases are not big. They don't look like very much, but they are crucial. If your bobbin case is having issues, your machine is not going to stitch well, and you're going to be very unhappy. You're going to know something's up with it. You may not know what, but anyway, okay, I'm going to do some more buffing back and forth now with the cotton swab. Don't think I need to go back with the 1500 wet dry sandpaper anymore. And make sure I get any polish stays where I want it. I don't want it in any other area. All right, now I'm going to take alcohol again, and the alcohol is going to clean any residual polish. And I know you might think, well, why don't you leave that as a prevention for future oxidation? But that's where I'm going to use the oil. Okay, so starting to get a much cleaner cotton swab now. And that's telling me, I've been using polish, I've been using the paper, and now I think we're good. We've got some staining there. If you look closely, let me zoom in again for you guys. Sorry, I'm trying to get the focus in, guys, because it wants to go in and out. There we go. Now, if you look inside, you mostly see some staining. I'm going to play with a little bit more polish and pull out what remains of that oxidation. And then next video, I'll show you, and you may have seen this before, but I will show you guys what I do to help prevent this in the future. And it's not much. It's so simple. It's just buffing with a little sewing oil, and that's the easy part. Thanks for watching, everyone. Again, I want to emphasize to those of you who are interested in vintage machines, either you want to restore them or you want to buy one, you want to sew. Your main interest is sewing with these wonderful old machines. I just wanted to show you, the reason I'm making so many videos on this is because bobbin cases are a big deal. And most people don't think of them as a big deal until they stop functioning properly, but they are. And again, once your bobbin case has been tuned, for lack of a better term, and overhauled, you should be fine. And you're not going to have to do much to it as the sewer. But for those of you interested in overhauling or restoring a machine, either for yourself or someone else, don't ignore bobbin cases. They deserve attention. And it's a really, I know it seems like an investment in time here, but how much time have we spent? You are really going to help with the future success of your machine by investing a little time in getting that bobbin case ready for a new life of sewing. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll finish this up, and then next video we'll talk more about this Viking and how to get her going. Take care.